Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. As Michigan fans ourselves, it was a beauty waking up Sunday morning, being able to rewatch this game. And Dill, was it perfect? No. Did Michigan have an opportunity to probably win by a little bit more in this football game? Absolutely. I thought it was the most complete game that we've seen from Michigan in 2025. I don't even think it's all that close because I'm looking at that Washington team. It's a really good team on both sides of the football. There's this stigma that Washington does not have a good defense. Still, I'm going to read you some of the numbers from this Washington defense halfway through the year. Only giving up 22 points per game. That's top 35 in the country. Only giving up 3.5 yards per carry. That's top 25 in the country. 5.2 yards per play. That's top 40 in the country. Dill, in fact, Ohio State, when on the road and played Washington a couple of weeks ago, they only had 357 total yards of offense. They only averaged 5.8 yards per play. Go look at Michigan's numbers. 417 yards of total offense, over 6 yards per play. Look, am I going to get up here and say Michigan's offense is better than Ohio State's? Not ready to pull the trigger on that, but I wanted to highlight that this was a really complete and impressive performance against a very, very quality Jed Fish coach Washington Huskies team. I thought Chip Lindsey also had his best game of the season so far. Does it feel like Bryce and Chip Lindsey are maybe getting back on the same page? Certainly a conversation to have. We got a lot to talk about. Fired up to get into it before we do. And as always, to the Michigan fans, of which many have been rocking with the boys through the highs and lows, appreciate you guys. And I think we all probably agree on one thing. Let's just sit back and enjoy the ride. This is a young team that we think is going to get better as 2025 goes on. And Dill, in fact, I think this team might be getting better as 2025 goes on. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I want to start on the Michigan offense. Getting a chance to watch this one back a couple of times, we're going to get to Bryce because I thought this was by far the best Bryce has looked, but I thought this offensive line was moving bodies and holding up in pass pro. And Dill, here's the storyline. According to PFF and my eyeballs, they match up with it. Who do you think was the highest graded offensive lineman on this football team yesterday?
Man, I still think Jake Winner is the best offensive lineman that we have going right now.
Okay, but you're wrong. You want to know who it is? Blake Frazier came in at the left tackle spot. Blake Frazier, you go back and watch that game. He had one iffy rep and pass pro got put on his behind. Outside of that, Blake Frazier was pretty damn clean all game, and that just tells you how good I think this offensive line has the chance to be over the next couple of years. But sorry, cut you off. Offensive line performance, T-box is yours.
Yeah, and to me, it was about the pass protection because that's probably where, when you've seen Michigan really break down at times, it's been just like not being able to communicate, not picking up blitzes, but also losing their share of one-on-ones. I thought the tackles all night, both Evan Link before his injury, and then Blake Frazier and Andrew Sprague, I thought had a really steady day too. I was just very impressed with the ability to win one-on-one reps really consistently and not give up really any pressure at all for most of them.
I will say that's the only part of Washington's defense that I don't think is great. You know, what they have in the pass rush department. And they did have Zach Durfee back, who is considered their best pass rusher. That's one where I'm going to wait and see. I want to see them continue to hold up in pass protection as we start dealing with some better pass rush units. But I will say this. Ryan Walters throw some different looks at you. He's very known for dialing it up. And you said it right. The communication, picking up some of the pressure packages, picking up some of the games and stunts. It was all really clean. Here's another individual shout out I'll give. Big Giovanni El-Hadi, man. It looked really good before the injury. Looked really bad coming back last week and on the road against USC. Was probably the worst offensive lineman we saw. Dill thought he was back, thought like he was moving a little bit better, right? Climbing to the second level, pulling place out. His mobility, you can tell he's a little bit more healthy Saturday afternoon. Thought that was pretty big as well. Let's go to Bryce, and I'll give you the T-box here. Biggest takeaways from what you saw from Bryce against a very quality Washington secondary.
it's about the efficiency, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
like
think
I
so.
know he can make that throw to Deacontinelli. He's kind
Dude,
of been doing that
disgusting.
all game for them. That is a sick throw. Like we haven't seen that in a while. It feels like at Michigan. But just the efficiency, being able to, like, I mean, be
Yeah.
21 and 27 with a couple of drops, like, that's a really, really clean day from him, not really making any mistakes. That's probably the big one, because if he's gonna be a really, really good quarterback, that part of the game needs certainly take the step, and I thought today you saw that step.
A 78% completion percentage, 3 big time throws, 0 turnover worthy plays, 0 turnovers on the day. We'll take that. Like go be a difference maker when it's time to be a difference maker. And I think you said it right. Like we've seen Bryce make some difference making throws plenty of times during his short career at Michigan. You wanted to see him do the simple stuff better. And Dill, also, you wanted to see Chip Lindsey draw up some simpler stuff too. I think, yes, Bryce missing some throws and not doing some simple stuff, taking the checkdowns, that was a problem. But I also felt like Chip Lindsey can do a better job giving Bryce some easier stuff. I think Chip Lindsey did a really good job giving some easy throws. And again, did we squander some opportunities to put points up on the board? Yeah, absolutely. But it was the most rhythm that we've seen from this Michigan offense all year in 2025 because Michigan, up until this point, has been a little reliant on the explosive plays, specifically from Justice Haynes. Michigan had to figure out a different way to manufacture points. I thought they did so. A little help from the defense, given some short fields. But I did think you saw a little bit of rhythm from this Michigan offense that you hadn't seen up until this point. Here's another thing that I took away: average time to throw 2.5 seconds. Like, ball's getting out, man. Like you can tell Bryce is seeing a little bit better, finding his answers and getting the ball out quickly.
One part I like that RPO game that we went
Yeah,
to. I feel
yeah,
like we've seen it a little bit.
yep.
I think we saw it a little bit against Wisconsin, but that's something I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of because Bryce seems to be able to handle it well. I mean, the two that were very clear that we went to, both were completions. Obviously, the one coming back because the ineligible man downfield, but like just a concept that it felt like he is very, very comfortable running and throwing into.
Yeah, he's a confident thrower of the football, and you need to be when you're running that RPO. You got to be very comfortable ripping it sometimes into traffic. Bryce ain't afraid to do that. There ain't no question about it. And he was reading it well, too. Through what we got, 6 of 13 on third downs. What do you think the biggest story was there? I got to take on mine, and you know what? I ain't going to put you on the spot
Tight
like that.
ends? I'm sure
No,
it's going to be tight ends.
that's not bad. Not bad. That actually is probably maybe a better answer than I'm going to bring to the table. But my answer that I'm going to bring to the table is one, didn't take a lot of negative plays. Number two, Jordan Marshall, like keeping us on schedule, man. I firmly believe on third downs, the third down numbers, it's a product of what you do on first and second down. And it felt like, especially on the road against USC last week, we found ourselves in so many of these third and long situations where the playbook gets a little bit condensed. Opposing teams are getting after the pass. That pass rush really has a chance to get home. Jordan Marshall does a really good. He's not as explosive as Justice Haynes, but man, he is an absolute bruiser of a running back. And Dill, here's what you saw a little bit. And I ain't comparing this team to 2023, but it felt a little bit like that. So you didn't really pull away in the first half, although it felt like you were the better football team. There's only so much, and excuse me, there's only so many times that you want to tackle Jordan Marshall. Now, I thought Jordan Marshall wore Washington down a little bit too. And in that fourth quarter, excuse me, you started this. You ain't gonna pick me up. You ain't gonna come in and try to help the kid out. It's crazy. So I'm
You're
just gonna.
going. You're just keeping going. You got a stream of thoughts you want to get out.
I'm gonna battle through. What I'll say is that it felt like Jordan Marshall and his running style wore Washington's defense down a little bit. Now, here's the flip side of this conversation that is equally as important. Like, well, what a bounce back from this Michigan defense, and especially what a bounce back from the position group that was the worst on the field a week ago, was the best on the field this week, than them linebackers. Ernest Hausman, Cole Sullivan, Jimmy Rolder. And it wasn't just the interceptions of Jimmy and Cole. I thought Ernest Hausman was probably the best backer we had on the football field in his ability to fit the run. And it's a hard run game to fit up because you have to account for DeMond Williams and what he can do keeping the football. These linebackers, they were playing fast. They were playing physical. They were fitting the run the right way. And Dill, here's that last, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here. 3 missed tackles all game. A hell of a performance from Wink Martindale in this Michigan defense here.
Have the quarterback style, and I do feel like you'll like the defensive staff, like they didn't give up a ton of stuff easy in the middle. I feel like there was that one play to the tight end that was a little frustrating. It's like, oh, I've seen this play again. Like I've seen this movie last week, but they didn't really give up a ton of it.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm kind of with you. The 3 linebackers played incredible, like in both the run and the pass. Just a really good game from
agreed. A lot of times we evaluate linebackers on just their tackles and fitting the run the right way. It's also the zone drops, right? Cleaner. Like there wasn't as many easy access throws as it seemed like the USC was able to find a week ago. We'll see what version. And Dill, the Michigan pass rush I thought was really good, and it didn't necessarily put up the numbers that I think sometimes we expect from this unit. I think that was pretty intentional. Like we weren't just going to pin our ears back and get out of our rush lanes. The priority was Damon Williams going to beat us. We going to make him beat us from the pocket. They had a great plan for dealing with Damon Williams and what he can do as an athlete creating.
But I will say when they turned him loose, they were able to make some plays. Like because there were some spots that I feel like Michigan did pick to get a little bit more with their pass rushing. I did think those came at the time, and obviously led by Derek Moore, but also like Cameron, I thought was rushing the passer pretty well from his defensive end spot too. I thought that was pretty like a nice blend. Like it wasn't so passive that it was like frustrating, but also you weren't letting Damon Williams just get backyard football on you and beat you up there. So I thought the blend of like the aggression, but also like for the most part, just keeping your integrity, if you will, in terms of your rush lanes. I thought that blend was really productive.
Yeah, good for Wink. There was a lot of heat, including from the boys. Man, here's the storyline, right? And look, I'm not even going to put play. This is my personal opinion. If you're a Michigan fan that sees that performance, say, hey, run the table, go beat Ohio State, make the college football playoffs, I ain't going to blame you. Now, I'm pretty damn close. This is kind of my approach for the rest of the season is I just want to see this team continue to get better, man. Continue to get better and look at what the final version of this football team looks like the end of November. Because I firmly believe that the final form of Michigan, I think, can be pretty good when it's all said and done in the back half of November. And again, I'm not punting on this year, but like I'm looking at this as like a buildup, right? Kind of similar to what we did a couple of years ago, building up to 2023. You got a nucleus here of a lot of young guys that'll be back on this roster not only in 2026 but in 2027 as well. Let's keep getting better. Let's get these guys getting better. Going to be really exciting to see what this young, because I don't even think we mentioned Andrew Marsh, who probably should have, is awesome. It's a good young team, and it's a frustrating team at times, but it's also pretty fun to watch because you ain't always sure what you're going to get. This is not the 2023 version of Michigan where you kind of know you're going to be steamrolling pretty much everybody every Saturday. You ain't sure what you're going to get. You're going to have to sweat most Saturday afternoons. But it's really fun to watch these kids grow up in front of our eyes. Close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.